Making a video, obviously. So anyway, Justin, off for the day. So we'll go over this for his sake, I guess. But maybe it'd be of some value to somebody else, I don't know. Perspective, way of saying this in so fine a language that it can't be misunderstood. I am a bit deaf, which makes it a little more difficult. Anyway, alright, so I'm talking about a value commodity. Value is a commodity, not as something like I value it, I declare it, I blah blah blah. It just is. It's a thing, and you say the thing has value. You make a declaration in the sense that it's a description of what it is. It falls into this category called value. So let's say there's a category called valuable. Okay, it's not what people project to be valuable, it's what is actually valuable in the universe. So that's the first part of the definition, is this is absolutely valuable. There's no doubt about it. There's no question. That's how it gets into this category. No reasonable question, no alternative theory, no way of saying that doesn't matter or something like that, because it obviously in some way is significant enough to say no, it just falls into this value category. It's important, and so that's the words you use to describe what value means. Value means that something is important. It requires attention. It requires notice. It is significantly different. It is significant. Yeah. So you get the idea that this is something that's valuable, is unlike other things. It's different in a very specific way that makes it something you must pay attention to. Yes, it's precious. Precious. It's a good word. Because it indicates that it needs care. It will have, whether it needs to be polished or waxed, or, it needs to be cared for. It needs to, attention is good enough. It needs attention. Alright, so the argument being made is that a sentient life form falls into this category. It meets the standards of this category. A conscious entity that is sensate, that's feeling, falls into this valuable category. And part of the thing that I guess you could say is part of being in the category of valuable would be that you're generating something, you're doing something that is valuable. And you can argue that the sensate part is the valuable part. The alive part doesn't really matter. Lots of other parts don't matter. But the sensate part is the part that's generating this value by generating these sensations. And then we glean understanding of this through the overt, in-your-face Mack truck of actually being sensate. So I've described it as simple as I can. I mean, I arrived on Earth and noticed that I was conscious, and that stuff was decided. Some things could be decidedly unpleasant and other things could be pleasant, and that this is the way consciousness functions, that you're capable of having good and bad experiences. And that's what we're really talking about, is having the value, the good and the bad experiences. Good and bad being the qualitative words. So again, another part of this value category would be something that has a qualitative component. And that's what we could certainly say about sentience. It seems I could say it when I was 5. It seems to me that other people could say it eventually. They can observe this fact. Another, thing, I didn't even have to ask other people Are you conscious too? Because I could see they were responding exactly as I would respond, based on if you pinch them, do they not go ooch? If you prick them, do not they blood? Yes, they do. And they have the same responses basically that I do to these events and these happenings. So I didn't even have to go survey the rest of the sentient creatures and ask them if they're sentient, if they were feeling life, because their reactions fully answered the question. There was no need to ask the question. So these are my two observations. There's pretty immediate observations. One, I am having qualitative experience. Two, the other beasties are having qualitative experience. I don't want to be patronizing, but shit, a 5-year-old can do it. This logic, this categorization doesn't take much effort at all. So I guess we'll just move to a thought experiment to perhaps illustrate it, and we'll make qualifiers, as we always must do for thought experiments. So the qualifier is that the universe is exactly what this universe appears to be, just a bunch of planets, rocks, little gassy things happening. The most complex the chemistry is little swirly storms, little red dots on Jupiter or something, little Saturn rings and stuff, all very mundane in terms of the level of complexity of the chemistry. And then there's one thing called a Justin, and there's another thing called a computer. So you have a computer, and you have we can call the computer Justin 2, and a Justin. And the Justin is a regular human, and he's sentient, and his paw is in a bear trap, and he's in horrible pain and suffering. Just awful. And the computer is going, ouch, ouch, ouch. I have one of my diodes is in a trap. Ouch, ouch, ouch. And it says, I'm completely faking this based on programming. Isn't it hilarious? I'm making ouch, ouch sounds. Ha, ha, ha. Ouch, ouch. And that's all it's doing. It's just running a program going, ouch, ouch, ouch. And then you got this Justin thing, this sentient being, going, ouch, this hurts, please, help, help, help. Let's say the computer says, help, 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 too. Help, help, help. Yeah. I'm in distress. Something like that. Writes it on the screen, too. Just for emphasis. Alright, well, anyway. And so then Mr. Intelligence falls into the universe. Okay, Mr. Intelligence is just some sort of logical, sensible thinking machine that just assesses circumstances and goes, nothing to see here, or says, whoa, something to see here. That's all. That's all it does. From Justin's point of view, from this other Justin on Earth, the one I'm communicating with, he's arguing that somehow there is no way to logically first recognize that these two Justins are any different than the rest of the bibble-babble bouncing around in the universe, even though they're highly complex and clearly doing highly complex functions way above all the other material functions. So in spite of that complexity, nothing to see here. And then even if this intelligence was dumb enough to not recognize there was two things that were highly sophisticated, it isn't smart enough to make a distinction between the sentient being going, ouch, 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 I'm in pain, and the computer program that's mocking, essentially, the suffering creature, and synthesizing a fake suffering. It has no real component to it, no value component, no real sensations. and the intelligence somehow wouldn't be able to figure out which one was real, which one had a real importance and which one had a felonious and fake importance. I'm arguing that, of course, the intelligence would be able to recognize the distinction between the two, that it would be capable, especially if, let's say, we let it taste the experience. So we let it taste the circuitry of the computer, which is nothing to taste. It's not having a qualitative experience. It's just running electricity. You know, the electricity for making the word ouch is exactly the same as the electricity to say booger or snothead or whatever, poop face. So it really just doesn't matter. All the circuitry's the same. It's just and then you let it taste sentience, the illusion of me in pain feeling. And you give him a taste of that. You know, a taste of that bone gripping pain. I mean, actually gripping your bone pain. Then I think it becomes, you know, even more impossible for the intelligence not to say, well, this is something that needs to be addressed. I mean, that's one hell of a thing happening there. Holy shit. I certainly wouldn't want to do that forever. That was nasty shit. That certainly was in that bad category. Seems the evolution that created that creature certainly knew what the fuck it was doing when it was creating this value thing to create this learning capacity and all this whip and carrot thing. It certainly got it right, because that's one motherfucking hell of a whip. It's one hell of a whip maker, that evolution. I just don't see how it would have any problem saying, okay, this thing, these entities creating these experiences go in the category of, this is the value in the universe. This is the thing that needs our attention. This is the thing that must be monitored and watched and cared for. This is the thing I must, as a first priority in this nothing universe, the first priority would be to take this thing's paw out of the fucking thing causing this horrible sensation. The bad must be converted to good. And then we can have a conversation about where we go from there, which is likely nowhere, logically. Because again, this survival thing isn't nearly as important as the experience thing. The need for creatures to survive is a projected value. That's one that comes from brains into the universe. Okay, in the sense that it's not innate to the creature. It's not bad, in the sense that there's some harm or negative qualitative experience being experienced. It's only bad as a desire, as a want. It only fits in the category as it wants it, like it wants a Lamborghini, or it wants to go to the World Series, or it wants any other wanty thing. Wanty things can be judged. They're not intrinsically valuable. It's a statement being made by a sentient. Certainly they can have a value component to it, but it's not like having your paw in a bear trap. It's not like actually being sick. It's not like actually being hurt. It's a psychological manifestation, not a physiological manifestation, in the sense that it's not a necessary condition. It's not a trap your leg is stuck in. It's a perception your psychology is stuck in. How else to explain that? Well, I think the very fact of the word projected versus happening would sort of be a way of describing. I mean, projected is something you're speculating on it being a bad. It's not a bad yet. You're attempting to project it, and the question is whether what's on the screen is bullshit or something real. Um, it's yeah. I mean, the difference is just in the sense that you're not feeling the horror isn't in and of itself in the word extinction, or extinction isn't in and of itself, as it happens, horrible, in the sense that there is no necessity of horrible pain and suffering. So it's not intrinsically bad. It's bad based on what people have projected it to mean. They have assumed it to mean, what they believe it might mean. And that can be argued that that belief is just bullshit. That's just made up nonsense. Again, like anything you could just make up as being a bad thing. But it's not. You could just, like I said, you could say the computer was having a bad day because it was going ouch, ouch, ouch. But it's not. You can create a synthetic thing, like this little thing. Create a synthetic thing that has the appearance of something that needs attention. That, it has a Charlie, that needs care. But it's synthesized. It doesn't really need it. It's just my brain that thinks it needs it. It has a sense of it. It has an impulse that says, "Oh, it's got a face. It's cute. You can't hurt it." And but it's not based on anything logical or sensible. It's just based on something emotional. So that would be a distinction between the value of survival or longevity or some other thing like that, some projection of some future circumstance that may need or not need to exist, and something happening now, something real, a sensation. I shouldn't have gotten off the subject and made the comparison between these different psychological perceptions, because they're all psychological perceptions in the end. I mean, it's hard for us to be purely logical, but clearly the idea is to be as logical as possible for us to be, as analytical as possible, as honest as possible, to not be deceived by intuitions, cosmetic nonsensory, and to acknowledge the reality, what's really taking place. So anyway, back to the original, outside the thought experiment, and back into reality. So reality is just basically the thought experiment with just 7 billion human sentience plus trillions, or whatever the number would be, of beastie sentiences that are having qualitative experience, that are creating bad and good sensations in their brains. So this is really a conversation about what brains do in the universe versus what computers do versus what rocks do, or even flowers do. It's a conversation about inert chemistry, chemistry that has no consequential qualitative component, and chemistry that creates a qualitative component that creates good and bad sensate experiences. So that's the commodity in this economy. Good and bad sensate experiences. Good and bad sensate experiences. That's the value commodity. That's the money. That's the let's see, what's a better way to say it? That's the stuff. Money's a representation of something, and a real economy. The joke is I can't really metaphor it to something separate, because any value system I metaphor it to will be a value system created by sentient beings that has built into it a fundamentally what is the commodity in, say, our regular society or the economy. Again, the commodity still is comfort. that's still what people are bargaining for, is their comfort. Work is uncomfortable, therefore you're paid for it. Certain pleasures are enjoyable if you pay for them. So that's the economy, is sort of built around this idea of acquiring comfortable states. So, I mean, I can't use, I mean, if I use that as a metaphor, I'm just using the same exact thing I'm talking about as a metaphor. Because that economy, the real commodity, oil isn't a commodity. Its value isn't in the oil. Its value is in the energy, and the value of the energy is in the fact that it produces human comfort. And I could go through every element of any commodity and why it has value, and it has value because people are made happy or comfortable or pleased in some way by possession of it, by acquiring it, by watching it, by experiencing it, enjoying it, however you want to describe it. They derive comfort or pleasure through this mechanism, through this commodity of health care or food, obviously. And that's the nature of an economy. And I'm saying that we have a value economy, and it shouldn't be, just like our real economy is incredibly inefficient and doesn't devote resources in some sort of rational way. Like, you know, there's a high maintenance human being over here that pisses through $50,000 a day to gain their comfort, and this other individual is getting by on 50 cents a day. And you know, there's obviously this rational perception that if there are people who aren't getting by, who don't have the 50 cents and are in pain merely for the lack of 25 cents, 25 cents will make them comfortable, then obviously this $50,000 person looks a little bit insane, because you can get so many of these people out of suffering with just the money you're wasting on this one. And so those kind of economies would be the real rational economy. A rational perspective would say there's absolutely no point in creating it. You certainly wouldn't create any more of those high maintenance things. You'd certainly say, well, when the last one of them dies, that should be the last one. Let's not make any more of them, because they're just god-awful wasteful. You know, that would be the sensible argument. So the sensible argument being made on, like, the subject of vegetarianism or rape or anything is, don't make more rapists. Rapists be bad. Let's not make any of those. Well, these people eating other sentient organisms to be happy, well, they don't have to do it. That's quite obvious. That we have demonstration models of humans that are perfectly happy not doing it. So let's not make any more of those. Let's not make people who are addicted and dependent psychologically on eating other creatures. And then even the anti-natalist argument can be made that, look, we have one example of a person over here who has all this projected necessity that humans go into space and that they colonize the universe and they calculate pi to ungodly, obscene digits, and that they pick up moon dust and pick up Martian dust and actually touch it in their hands and smell it through their... Okay, they can't smell it. They actually pick up a spoonful of it and actually put it in a dispenser in their helmet and actually taste it. Ooh, I tasted the soil of Jupiter, right? There's idiotic humans who need to do that shit, right? They say, oh, I gotta do that. Oh, I gotta have this. I gotta have that. I gotta have shiny cities on a hill. I gotta have all this. I gotta have that. I gotta have that. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. And then there's people who just say, you know, it's just a need equation. Don't make the need, then you don't have to satisfy the need. Oh, it's just a dependency. It's just an addiction. Oh, yeah, let's not bother with that. So they don't need any of that shit. They don't need to go to Mars and taste it. They don't need to do any of this crap. They have absolutely no ambition to accomplish crap. They don't need to watch bad television, right? It's like some people think you got to make every goddamn stupid show conceivable because they got to see another stupid show. And there's other people saying, hey, there's enough stupid shows. We got a whole bunch on VHS. let's just make it all digital and watch the stupid shit we already got forever. Because there's enough stupid shit in the vault to watch forever. You don't got to make any more stupid shit. Which is basically saying, we've been there and done that. Let's just stop doing that. Because it's been there, done that. And it doesn't go anywhere. You're just chasing contrived necessity. Which is very different than actual necessity, which is sort of the point of the thought experiment. The contrived necessity is the fake computer saying, I need, I need, I need. And the real thing is paw in bear trap. And we know how to stop paws from going into bear traps. Just stop making paws, and you got no problem. Then you can have all the bear traps in the universe you want. It just doesn't matter if there's no paws to fall into them. So the simplest way to stop paws from getting into bear traps is not to make paws anymore. Or the thing connected to them, because you don't need those either. So anyway, that's going further than the scope of this video, which this video is just to explain that I can't make it any simpler for you. In the sense that, yes, I think personal experience is evidence. I have, again, maybe the superintelligence would need to taste sentience to know what it is. Alright? To know the badness of it. Because, yes, if you just have two things testifying, biological thing, synthetic silicone thing, and they're both testifying they need help and they're in pain. Even though one's conceding it's lying, but let's just pretend, we don't know if it's really lying. It might be lying about lying. That maybe an intelligence just couldn't do anything with that until it actually tastes sentience. It would have to know what it is. And I'm just saying that we have been informed by being conscious that this is fuck all of experience. This is it. This is the thing. You're not going to find something else like this. It's just, it doesn't, and again, you can speculate about that, but I don't want to get into the whole Drake equation and get into the 4 million arguments about how the rest of space is just a big empty hole. And we have the evidence right in evolution on this planet alone to explain that, because of all the one-time biological events that took place in our evolution, all the one-time perfect storms, because they never happened again. We are an aberration of the universe, and it is an incredible aberration. And it's merely because evolution, through this replicating molecule theme, was given 4 billion years to generate a value generator so it could do logic. And you really can't do logic without the value generator. Just as a computer needs its base programming, it needs its prime directives. It needs to be told what to do. Biology made a machine that doesn't need to be told what to do, beyond the sense that it has built into it this program, and it says you need to eat. Okay, you need to, find the white women. You need to do these certain things to be comfortable. And so that was the prime directive programming. And it created that out of something real. It created real good and bad, real value in its effort to synthesize agenda. Agenda would have been value, and it synthesized agenda into good and bad that actually was good and bad, not just good and bad from the programming state of being. Like meeting your programming, doing your logic correctly, or doing it incorrectly. I mean, you should be able to understand the distinction between how a computer is doing processing and how a sentient feeling being is doing processing, and that it's very different function. Sensation is created, and then sensation is dealt with as a value by the brain. So it's essentially we have two minds. The mind creating the agenda by creating sensation, and then the mind that has to deal with the problem created by sensation. The urgency. the value. Again, it's a value generator. So that's my argument defending the term value generator. I think it's intrinsically and fundamentally a fair description of what happens when a sentient experience qualitatively feels, when a sentient experiences qualitative feelings. And it's a perfectly sensible category to create, and sentient life is a perfectly sensible thing to put in it, and it is the commodity. Sensation is the commodity. Okay, enough, I think. Can't do any better for you, though. I mean, really, I mean, I can't explain how. I can't see any other way to look at it. I can't see any rational equation that says I'm just going to discount sentient feelings and say they are nothing more than computers saying ouch. I think that's a ludicrous comparison. That's all I can say from personally experiencing. When I say the word ouch, it doesn't mean anything if there isn't any ouch happening as a sensation. It's very different things. And I can't, like I said, I can't help you. If you don't agree with that, I just think you're fucking batshit insane. I don't know how you can experience sentience and then tell me it doesn't matter if your arm is in a bear trap. I just don't. And then whether it's your arm or Joe's arm or Sally's arm, it just doesn't matter. That you functionally are indiscriminately, you're indistinct from all the other sentient beings. So it just doesn't matter whose arm is in the bear trap. The sensation is the same bad sensation, and it's the sensation that is bad. It is the experience that is bad, not the experiencer, not any of this other crap. It just has to do with the experience. It has nothing to do with your who's doing it shit, or who cares shit. It's just a fact. The experience goes in the category logical value. Okay. Till next time.